All right, boss, we're rolling. Okay, mate. I think we should start from the beginning, I guess. So, like you've been in the whole fitness scene for seems like forever, and it seems like you've done everything. So give him a little lowdown, dude.
Yeah, so I mean, I've my life story is a bit of a wild one and certainly unique. But when it comes to the fitness industry specifically, I was a lifelong athlete. I wanted to play professional football as a goal, and so I'd been in the gym since the time I was 15 years old, mainly with the foresight of I knew I needed to be as big and as strong and as fast as I could in order to give myself a chance to play for a Division I scholarship coming out of high school. To get my college paid for, and that was my first goal. And then, of course, then I wanted to play at the next level. But I was fortunate enough to get that Division I scholarship, in which, lo and behold, I had some wisdom in the back of my mind creeping in every now and again that told me I should, just in case the NFL doesn't work out, study something that keeps me connected to athletes the rest of my life. And so, I studied kinesiology, the study of human movement, at the university I attended. It was called Human Performance. And so, from the time, honestly, I got about a semester and a half deep into the curriculum. Clearly, I was hooked. I loved it. I got myself connected with some great local strength conditioning coaches, and I got my first gig at 19, and been coaching performance, either speed, agility, performance, strength conditioning, power development, that kind of stuff, from that time on. And then, I ended. Long story short, I did make it to the NFL at the conclusion of my college career, but I played 2 years of arena football. During that time is when I was first exposed to CrossFit. And I was exposed to CrossFit because at that time I was playing football, but also I was teaching. I was an adjunct instructor at the university that I graduated from, teaching some classes for the CSCS certificate. If you guys know what that is, it's called I think I'm trying to remember what it is. Certified Strength Conditioning Coach. Is what all it is. Basically, it gives people that opportunity to become one. So I was teaching a course for that and doing some fitness instructing as well. But every year I got continued education credits. And so CrossFit was trending at the time. And I used the credits that they provided me to go to my level 1 for free at the end of 2010.
Wow.
From that time, I got that 2-day seminar to stack that on top of my background in strength conditioning. And I was pretty hooked. It was at a time where a lot of people were bad mouthing the sport of fitness. They didn't really understand what it was because they didn't have the chance to have that 2-day course. They only saw it from the outside in, the bad movement or the fail videos or the what have you. And so because I got that inside out look, man, it opened my eyes to a lot of things. I wanted to compete in the sport. That was my initial desire. I was like, I could do it. It was the year Graham Holmberg won, was 2010, and before Rich kind of took over his reign as champ. And I was like, oh, I could do what that guy did. I'm gonna sign up and go do that thing. So, I started in 2011. Missed the games by a spot. I finished sixth at a regional where they were taking five, in the Southwest my first year. That told me I definitely had some chance and potential, but it made me hungry. I went on to connect with Tommy Hackenbrook at U CrossFit, where we'd go on to win an affiliate cup 2 years back to back, 2012 and 2013. And then I went on an individual pursuit for a few years, where I was fortunate enough to punch my ticket in 2015. I finished 21st in the world that year. It was an awesome experience. Not the way I wanted to go, but it was great nonetheless. One of those achievements that I had been shooting for really since 2011. So that 4 to 5 year period, it was constantly building, and to have that, I was grateful. And then I started putting together our team that pieced together for the 2017 games, where, off the blueprint that I learned from Tommy and what we did at Ute, I just saw that we had to have some really hard workers and people that were all in and committed, of course, talented athletes. And we were able to win the CrossFit Games again in 2017 with the Wasatch Brutes.
Wow.
And then that kind of brings us here with my journey through CrossFit, at least.
So what was it like coming from obviously a team-based sport with football going into the individual side? Like, did you prefer the team-based CrossFit stuff, or did you like the individual?
That's a great question. I really thrived in the individual side. And the reason is because through my years of football, while I love the team aspect, and I still do, it's still my preference. I needed that time where I could just rely on me. I could rely on my own hard work and my work ethic, my discipline, because those are traits that have actually set me apart in the past. Like even when it comes to my teammates themselves, I was very fortunate throughout my career to be recognized as some kind of leader, right? Either, team captain for 2 years in college, team captain in high school, like these kind of things. I didn't necessarily want them all the time, but I think a lot of my discipline and hard work are what people saw in me that maybe them just be like, okay, AC can handle this, or Adrian can be that guy, and we'll kind of follow in his footsteps. But at college, it's kind of hard because, to be quite honest with you, if you guys are listening to this and don't know what college sports are like, you get such a wide range of ability, right? Which means there are guys that walk in that door, could have never played the sport you're playing, and you could have played all your life and they'll still own you at it, right? Like there are humans that walk the face of the earth that are so tremendously physically gifted. They can do whatever they want and find a way to win if there's always a combination of both. But I think, and because some of my college teammates didn't always do that, or some of my teammates when I was playing even, professionally, quote unquote, arena football, it was always very frustrating for me to see people with more talent than me that didn't work as hard as me. And it really bothered me. So to step in and get a chance to do the opposite with CrossFit as an individual, it's like, oh yeah, give me all of this, man. If it's on me and then I win or lose based on me, I'll take it.
Yeah, I completely understand that. But like from an outsider looking into the sport of American football, right? It looks like, yeah, granted, it's clearly a team-based sport. However, you see like the drafts and all these things, and it's just like, wow, like there's such a high degree of element with of the individual side. It's like if you're not in tip-top shape, like everything else is just going to crumble and you're going to be plucked out and someone else is going to come into your spot. Like, for example, I played rugby, right? And yeah, granted, if you're not in tip-top shape, 14 other fellas on the pitch are going to end up being hindered by it. But at the end of the day, you can kind of like, pull up your boots and just get by. But it seems like in American football, like the athleticism of these athletes are just next level.
No, it's right. It's right. It really is. And even a guy like me, it's like, I do have some, thank God I got some great parents. So they passed on to me some wonderful genetics. But at the same time, I was limited even with those genetics and my hard work and commitment, where like some guys, again, didn't have to work as hard and they were still, 2/10 of a faster second, or 2/10 of a second faster than me in the 40 and 4 inches higher than me on the vertical. And, there was nothing that I could do to change that. So it was either through my wit or my ability to study and become more of a mental, student of the game, which of course was something I recognized. And at some point in the journey for me, I recognized that I needed to find details in the game that they didn't yet understand or weren't paying attention to, and use those to my advantage. So, and it's the same thing with CrossFit, man. It's the same thing. And as the sport goes with CrossFit, it's kind of another acknowledgement to a growing sport, is that, if you guys, if as a group, we all look back on 2008, 2009, 2010, and we continue to go through even Rich's dominance then and into Matt Frazier's dominance, you see the field behind them is changing tremendously in regards to age, in regards to what their maxes are. It's like the field is getting fitter. And now I think what we'll start to see is a lot of these guys that were teens at the games 2 to 3 years ago that are now 21, 22, and are coming up in that age group and getting physically stronger. We're going to see some real raw talent that is going to get to be, running that games floor instead of just like hard workers. For many years, I feel like those of us that made it to the games, man, I'm a grinder, I'm a hard worker. So it's like, cool, I'll just try to outwork everybody. Maybe that'll get me there. And it's a little different now in today's game.
Yeah, it's crazy being able to pair those two together, right? You get that, quote unquote genetic freak, and you pair them with like 15 years of weight training by the age of 25. And they're just like, what the hell? What numbers are they coming out with? Like, it's absolutely crazy.
It is. It's phenomenal.
Like some of the stuff they end up putting up in the teens division when they're 15, 16, a little bit older, maybe a little bit younger, like 14-year-old ladies just throwing up people's max deadlifts in a jerk. You're just like, this is crazy, man.
Oh yeah, no, it's literally mind blowing. And a lot of it too, from a coaching perspective, is of course they've got some speed and they got some power, right? Like we're starting to see guys that, could be traditional sport excel at traditional sports like football and American basketball and these kind of things. And they're choosing CrossFit instead. So of course now we got the talent pool, but it's really the quality of their movement because, like you mentioned, 10 years, 15 years of lifting experience by the time you're 25, whew, you're not just out there hoping the bar gets over your head, right? You've done the 10,000 reps. You've done the work in the hour. So with that combination, and hopefully you've got a good leader as a coach that understands some periodization, keeping your body fresh. Hopefully by the time you're 23 and 24, you're not feeling overrun or, burnt out per se, because that happens a lot to young people that find it early, right? And if that's the case, wow, yeah, we're going to see some, we already do see some, but we're going to continue to see some amazing things.
I mean, Haley Adams is a great example, right? She competed in the regionals and then also the youth in the same year, and it's just like, what? Like, you're up against fully grown ladies and kicking their ass.
I still feel that way about Haley when I watch her go. You know what I mean? Even at the games this year, it's like, for her to be a top 5 athlete, it blows my mind. I got to meet her in 2017. She became a brute strength athlete, which is the company that I've worked for many years, in 2017. So the year that she got second at the games her first time. And then she started working with Brute, and I met her at a Reebok photo shoot the year after we won the games in 2017. And we spent the weekend together kind of doing the shoot. And man, I saw something in her from a mental standpoint. Physical, of course, she's gifted. She works hard. But mentally, she was extremely mature, and she just had like this killer instinct. But it's amazing to look at even someone that has a frame like her. We would consider her like wiry, right? Like she's long framed, good runner, great power movement. She can power clean and power snatch well. But then like you get her in squat movements or like raw strength, and it's like, that's a challenge for her. And for her to be so fit still. And of course she's getting stronger. And now she's down in Cookeville with the champ and everybody else getting fitter by the day. It's just amazing to see like what diligence and hard work can do for someone, especially when they execute it with discipline.
Oh yeah, mate. Like, I think what's the whole quote? Hard work beats talent when talent stops working hard. Like, you can't do anything about it if you get someone who is just gifted, like God-given ability, and then works hard with it. You can't do anything about that. But the second they come off their game, that's it. You're in. And that just takes the discipline to just keep going and always grinding. Absolutely. Yeah, mate. I think you'll see her on the top.
I agree. I completely agree. We just gotta. I'm hoping that she continues to work very wisely, and understands that it's like there's a bit of a trajectory, right? Like with, hey, take your time. It takes time, because again, like one of the things is just keeping that body healthy. We keep that body healthy, she'll be good to go.
So how do you go about coaching those athletes that are coming up through the youth, that are a little bit more talented than other people? How do you end up keeping them like, hey, this is a long road. Don't put all your chips in one basket. Calm down, and like sort of play the field, play it out.
Yeah, it's a lot of hard conversations, right? And first and foremost, what I'll share is that like we've got athletes through the Brute Strength training program where it's like they're working with one-on-one coaches specifically. So while I oversee a lot of our group training and our strength and conditioning in regards to prepping our groups, our masters group, our compete group, our games prep group for the season of competition and the way that schedule periodizes and kind of peaks them, we've got, Nick Fowler as a one-on-one coach. We've got a great coach in Matt Torres. And I mentioned those two specifically because I know they've worked specifically with Haley or with Dallin Pepper. And so the basis though of like helping them understand is one of the bigger challenges, because when you're young, you're healthy, your joints feel good. Contractions don't take as much of a toll on you as they do a 35-year-old, right? And I can now even compare myself to the 25-year-old I was when I found the sport of fitness versus the 35-year-old I am now, and feel the difference and understand that those teens don't got that, bro. And they are just chomping at the bit. They see people in the gym for 4 hours a day. They're like, well, I'm going to do 5. They see people doing 100 pull-ups in a session. They're like, well, I'm going to do 125, and it's wonderful to be able to lead someone that way. In fact, as a one-on-one coach for me now, I work with masters athletes. Clearly, as I'm aging up, a lot of masters athletes look at me and say like, okay, see, like you've been through this transition, help me a bit, guide me, because people that want to be great at the sport are drawn to the hard work aspect, but what they're not drawn to is, okay, here's what we got to do mobility wise. Listen, I don't care what you say, we're resting today. Listen, I don't care what you say, this is a deload week. And it's about, as a coach and a leader, I think it's really fostering that kind of environment. Of course, they have to trust you first. And if they trust you and you have that candor back and forth, then you'll have the ability to lead them into the right decisions. But to be honest with you, brother, it's all about, like, if you find those athletes, which not everybody's this way, but if you find those athletes that are so hungry for greatness, it's really your job to kind of keep them on the leash.
Yeah.
All year, it's like, keep them on the leash. Keep them on the leash. Okay, the Open's coming. I'll give him just a little bit more leeway so that she's mentally competent, so that we can get after it. And then, we're going to tighten that leash back down quite a bit. They can get ready for the quarterfinals or the semifinals. Just get to play, right? Like, they've been waiting all year for this opportunity, and hopefully that programming that you develop dials them in so right that mentally now they're free and they're just going to go show the fitness they've built. And then, if they qualify, if you're fortunate enough to punch that ticket, get them back on the leash for a little bit, keep it tight so they stay healthy. Because from semifinals to the games, really, do you get fitter? Maybe a little, but really all you want to do is just show up. If you can show up 99% out of 100, you're going to crush it, compared to most athletes that show up like 85 out of 100 because they're beat up, they're run down. So to me, that's how I foster it. And that's a conversation that I have with myself. And then that's how I try to communicate it to the athletes.
Over peaking is such a fucking ball ache. Like, the amount of people that are just like, all right, I'm just going to work harder than everyone else because this is all I've done. I'm like, yes, but you were able to do that at 13, 14, 15, 16, blah, blah, blah. But now we're getting into the little intricacies of the top 5%, top 2%, top 1%. Like, let's calm down. You can't go balls to the wall every time you set foot in the gym. Like, you're going to have a great season and then that's it. You're going to be scratched off the history list. Let's calm down. Let's rein you back. Like, keep it on their leash, like you said. Like, I think that's the hardest part of having a talented athlete, of having those conversations and being like, look, buy in. And right now, being on the short term, calm down, rein it in. They're like, what do you mean? Like, I want to go. I'm like, you're going to win like a class whiteboard workout. That doesn't matter. Like, let's wait until the big stage, and then you can do whatever the hell you want.
100%. I completely agree, man. And yeah, it is difficult. It certainly is. It's really where the art of coaching comes in, right? Leading other humans and being able to not compute, but to communicate to them those hard instances and hard conversations, because they're hard to have with people that are driven. So I completely agree. It's much more than numbers, man. It's a mentality and it's a mindset.
For sure. And I think if you just show someone that you care about them, like, your whole goal is to just care about this individual, they end up buying into you. And whatever you need to do to then prove that, then, it depends on the individual, but it just comes back to caring, man. So a question I want to ask you, though, is I'm absolutely fascinated by people's answer, is what does leadership mean to you?
This is a great question, because it's boy, this is loaded. This is a loaded one. Could go a lot of directions with this. So let me say, as I think about it here for a minute, leadership is a lot of things. And I think the role for me as a leader has evolved tremendously. But as I think back on my life, I think back to in high school, which was part of my earliest, maybe junior high, part of my earliest leadership experiences, where I was actually appointed a leader, like told, okay, hey, listen, this is either your team or this is your unit. Like, this is your responsibility. To think back to then, and then to also think forward a bit in my life, only to about 7 or 8 years ago, where I got to participate in what is called SEAL Fit, or Kokoro Camp 26. It was the Kokoro group that I was a part of, but it was a 52-hour full immersion experience into like SEALs, like the BUDS type experience for how they bring on military here in our country to be a Navy SEAL. And it was like, we kind of got tortured for 52 hours, to be honest with you. And a lot of people quit, and a lot of people didn't make it. And it was like beach work. They had us underwater. They had us laying down and rolling in the sand and up in the mountains late at night and all these things. And one of their big models is, of course, like, ready to lead or ready to follow. And so to me, as a leader in general, that those two aspects, thinking to youth and being appointed a leader, thinking to the military or their perspective of it, and thinking about being ready to lead or ready to follow as a true team player, it's a fine balance to me of doing what we're doing now, communication and leading by example. True leadership is a great communicator and leading by example. And what I want to do with me, this is me specifically. So instead of being so general, I want to always fight to be the best performer, but I want to make you better at the same time. That's it. I think that's leadership. Like me leading from the front, but making everyone else better at the same time, no matter what that looks like.
That touches on something really apparent in the whole CrossFit world. Like everyone, even if we dial it down to a box, right? You know, you have the coaches, you have the owner, you have the members, and or the athletes, whatever you want to call them. And you get the coaches and they're like, okay, my job is to make these people better. We all know that. Yet a lot of people get their head caught up in the clouds and they're like, oh, my score has to be number one. I'm like, wait, hold on. So you're telling me your athletic performance pays your bills? They're like, well, no. I'm like, all right. So you helping other people, whether it's GPP, performance, whatever is in front of you, you're helping these people pay your bills, right? They're like, yeah, okay, cool. That should be your number one. And people always think I've got to perform well or help people. Yet you can do it together. It's hard. It's really hard. But that's where the leadership and doing, the discipline and taking the hard road and carving your own path, that's where that comes in, right?
100%. And you have to be comfortable in your own skin, which again, it's something in our world today, it's very uncommon and it's unfortunate, but that's where I honestly think that I've got most of my life success as an adult because I'm just kind of who I am. And my childhood taught me that I had to be that way. Otherwise I was going to be extremely exhausted. I moved around a ton. In case you don't know this about me, I basically, from the time I was in kindergarten through 10th grade, so my first 10 years of school, I never went to the same school 2 years in a row. I went between two families, my mom's side and my dad's side, every year. With that being said, I had to learn how to make friends. I had to learn. Sometimes I tried to fit in. Sometimes I didn't. I experimented with things because as a young male, I wanted to know who I was, of course. And what I found was that when I'm not myself truly to people, it's exhausting to me and it doesn't help the end result, right? So at some point I became me unapologetically. And I think my parents helped me foster that. But also it was those experiences of me just kind of almost being alone at a lot of times in my life because I was moving so much. Long story short, I believe that from a coach perspective, like those coaches at the box, they do understand that they need to help people, but they're so uncomfortable with the fact that well, maybe I can't help John if John outperforms me. So he might leave, he might leave my box because he wants a coach that's fitter than him. Maybe he'll go try to find Adrian Conway, or he'll go right. That people have these misconceptions of identity. And the truth is that for me, the list of athletes that I am a one-on-one coach for, I can't wait until they outperform me in every single workout because then I'm really doing my job. Now, part of my job as well is to push them, right? So if I were to just be I'm packing it in, there's a young guy that I train right now, tremendously talented. I train with him a couple times a week. And my goal is to beat him in workouts only to push him because I don't need anyone else to know if I win or lose in a workout other than him, right? And when he beats me, I hope that brings him clarity and confidence, not for any reason that has to do with me, but because he knows that I'm a competitor. I've once been a competitor. He knows how I game workouts. He knows the way that my mind can sometimes work that creates advantages. So when he does be able to squeak in and win a workout, or when he can consistently start to beat me, it's he really understands there's some great significant gains that are taking place. But from a competitive standpoint, in the gym every day, the workout's not a workout. And I tell people this all the time. It's the workout's training. No one wins awards for winning the workout at any gym. Even Fikowski and Vellner and Carl Saunders and Matt Frazier, they don't stress about that day in and day out workout. That's why they're great. It's because they understand they're training for a stimulus. They're training for an adaptation that then on game day, they get to show. or that in the open they get to show. And I think we lose that in fitness, in our sport of fitness, because in CrossFit, we get so tied up in the fun and the idea of us going back and forth day to day and winning this and winning that. We forget we're training for life, which is a very long trajectory type approach. And we get caught up in that, that 330 Fran versus that 220 Fran, and that, oh man, I'm going to get you on these unbroken pull-ups tomorrow, whatever it is. So it is a good problem to have, I think. That's why people love CrossFit. Yeah. But it's a lot of conversations like that need to be had.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what poses more of a question when it comes to the whole competitive side, right? Like if someone just wanted to come in 3 times a week with a buddy and they just do the same classes and, they back and forth and be like, yeah, I'm going to go unbroken or whatever. That's a bit of banter. That's just funny. You know what I mean? But if it's someone coming in like, no, really stressing, like they can't think about work when they're at work. They just think about, oh, I've got to win this workout or I have to go heavier or whatever. You're like, well, hold on a minute, mate. Like, first of all, you're doing a local competition. Like, that's amazing. But, like, again, your prize money is going to be a Fit Aid and a protein bar. So calm down. And second of all, like, if it's affecting your life, not improving it, there's a problem.
Exactly. And that's a great description of it, to be honest, right there. If it's affecting your life, not improving it, couldn't have said it better myself. And, and that's just something that, again, unfortunately, from my experience in the space and when I travel, I was fortunate enough to spend a great amount of time on CrossFit Level 1 seminar staff, where we travel all across the world to teach Level 1s, right? You get the vibes of their leadership. And unfortunately, it just seems like, maybe not as much now, but certainly in the past, it was just those conversations weren't being had at a transparent level. People were almost kind of being led on, like, yeah, if you show up more, maybe one day you'll go to the games, or if you just got to train more, you just got to. And it's like, well, for me as a leader in my community, this was a big deal because I was a games athlete while I was the head coach and manager of a gym. And then we won the CrossFit Games on a team at an affiliate, right? But the last thing that I wanted was to foster an environment of competitive individuals in regards to overly competitive, right? I love the banter. I love the trash talk. I love the, hey, come in the gym and let's throw down, because that's necessary. That's why people love CrossFit. But I never wanted people to think that, hey, our competitors are special and our affiliate members are not, right? Because that's not true at all. And in fact, what I would try to do as a competitor is I would unglamorize it because of how unglamorous it truly is, right? I'd be like, guys, you don't realize this, but my knees hurt all the time. And so does my elbows. And guess what? It takes me 30 minutes to warm up just so I can demo an air squat to you guys during class, because while I'm fit, it has a compromise. And I'll say, that I'm probably one of the most poor that I've ever been in my career, because that's all I do is spend my time in the gym and make enough to pay my mortgage and my bills. And that's it, like that. So I would share that with them so they understood, like, okay, Adrian and these guys really put in a lot of work, and it's to be one of the greatest in the world at something that is very small, and a lot of people try to chase that goal. But what we're doing is to improve the quality of our life. And I always want them to feel that's where our value was as a community, was in that. And in fact, one of my proudest moments was that in 2017, we won the CrossFit Games. Truly, there were still people at our gym that didn't know we had a team at the CrossFit Games. Hilarious.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. There would be like some 5:30 a.m. athletes rolling in, being like, hey, there's a big party this weekend here. I saw, how come, what are we having a party about? And everyone's like, dude, our head coach and our team just won the CrossFit Games. Like, it's a pretty big deal. And I'm like, oh, sweet. And it's not someone new. It's like someone that's been around for like 8 or 6 months or something. So it was funny.
Oh, they turn around and go, what's the CrossFit Games? You'd be like, oh, no.
Exactly. Yeah. But then, of course, I had to get on the coach about, hey, didn't you talk to your classes about the open, man? What's going on here? Like, we were supposed to promote this thing.
Yeah. It's just a bit of adult PE. Don't worry about it. Like, we're the best of the world at PE.
Exactly. But truly, that's the kind of lightheartedness that I've always had about our sport. It really is. And that's what I try to communicate to people. Oh, you know what I do? Because I get this when I meet some of my wife's friends for the first time or something. They're like, Adrian, so what do you do? Tell me about what you do. Well, now I just say I'm in the fitness space. That's it. But before I used to say, it sounds weird, but I exercise, I competitively exercise. And that was it. And of course it led to a lot of questions, but that's the way I defined it.
Yeah. And being like that, it also, I think it creates a sense of accountability too, because if you have those hard conversations and be like, look, if you legitimately want to go down this road, here's the obstacles you're going to face. It's going to be fucking shit. And this is what you're going to have to deal with. And if they know it from the start, then they can make an informed decision. And if they go down that road, then you can't complain about, oh, my knees hurt. I was like, yes, I told you that. Like, congratulations. Or, oh, I don't really have enough time to, I don't know, go party on the weekends. It's like, yeah, because you need to train again. So I think informed decisions is really important.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. Yeah. Have those hard conversations, mate.
Right out the gate.
Right out the gate. So how'd you get into Brute?
Oh yeah, man. So Brute, we started in 2014 and had a ton of momentum. We were offering a new service to a space that hadn't seen anything like it. Mainly because what existed before in the programming space was, blogs, free blogs, or a minimal pay type blog, or on the opposite of the spectrum, it was really expensive, professional, very well done one-on-one coaching, but not everyone could afford that. So we came into the space clearly with specialty coaches, of course. We brought on Chris Hinshaw at the time. We brought on Nick Sorrell as a gymnastics specialist. We brought on Matt Bruce as a weightlifting specialist. And then myself, Michael Kaziu, and Nick Fowler, we kind of were the overseers of the strength conditioning aspect of putting everything together and being able to program for CrossFit specifically. So I was involved there because Michael Kaziu, who is the co-founder and once was the CEO of Brute, which now it's Matt Bruce has taken over that side of things, is Michael was the third male on our team when we won the CrossFit Games in 2012 and 2013 with Youth CrossFit. So we had always been very close friends. And when he came out of college and discovered that he didn't actually want to be in the business of actually owning, a space for a gym facility and going through that, but he wanted to play the online game, Brute Strength was something that he came up with. And, so they brought me on as a head coach when we started this thing all the way back then.
Wow. And then how's it ended up evolving into now? Like I always see, like, CrossFit started off as a whole, right? And now I think it's branched off into this beautiful thing where, all right, if you want to get better at weightlifting, you talk to a weightlifter. If you want to get better at power output, you talk to like a ex-NFL. You talk to gymnastics to get better at gymnastics. And then, all right, we'll piece it all back together. And there you go. There's your fitness improved. Like, how's it ended up evolving into what it is now? Like, because it's huge.
Yeah. I mean, so what we do, right, again, like we brought everything under one umbrella, right? Yeah. So we've got all those specialties all together as one. And so, I mean, I would say that throughout the years, of course, it's had its undulations of ups and downs. And the reason, because once they changed the regional structure, like it changed what people were willing to invest in their fitness and at what level they were willing to invest in their fitness. So as a company, we've been able to keep the doors open and keep the business moving forward. And I would say it's primarily because people see the value in having specialists work with them, right? So it's being able to have an Olympic weightlifting coach in the same group as myself, or being able to have a gymnastics specialist break down your movement in that same Facebook group as a coach that's doing our weightlifting. So having all that stuff under one umbrella, I think, has been the biggest advantage. From an evolution standpoint, I don't know that much has really changed for us. What was difficult, though, was the change of structure every single year over the last 3 or 4 years, right? So as we program for groups, because we've got a games prep group, we've got a compete group, which is games prep, but just less volume, so less time in the gym. And then we've got the masters group as well. And so it's like to be able to structure the periodization charts and to be able to basically make the changes that we needed to, we had to stand on our toes. So we had the last 3 years, which made it a little bit difficult, but
yeah, for sure. All the changes that have been going on, like, I was speaking to Christoph Horvath the other week, and he was just like, from an athlete perspective, you don't really know what's going on. You don't know when to prepare for and all this stuff. And it just comes back to, hey, keep yourself pretty physically fit, keep yourself like strong, athletic, and whatever, then you can hold it back in. And then from a company's perspective, that's, really difficult, because it's like, all right, where do we end up steering the ship? But I think the whole thing is, look, we're still going to be in the sport of fitness. People are still going to need more fitness, more weightlifting, more gymnastics, or better honed in on those three. Like, it's that three head of the dragon, as Bergeron always talks about. So it's kind of like, all right, cool. We'll like hone it in a little bit, see where we're going, and then we can sort of branch out again.
Exactly. No, it's you're completely correct. And it certainly, that was one of the tests that we had this year, was to keep everybody, not this year, but more so last year, was we had to keep everyone in a bit more of a state of GPP, right? Just general physical preparedness, instead of being able to hone in and focus specifically on peaking the group at a particular time, because it was hard, because when they released those sanctionals and people could choose where they wanted to go, when they wanted to go there, for us as a company, we had top tier athletes that were participating in our group training. So it's like, okay, now as a group, we've got to keep them relatively fit and then offer branch off opportunities. So, when we would make an announcement like, okay, guys, so now if you're competing in the Granite Games next week, you've got to jump on this cycle. So let us email it to you, because we want to peak you for the Granite Games. But the rest of you stay on this normal track as we get ready for Wadapalooza. Or, I'm using those as rough examples. But yeah, that's something that we had to certainly explore.
I think everyone as a whole needs more GPP, like the Soviets would start all their programs on GPP. Like every one of their athletes, whether they're Olympic champions or they've just walked in the gym, they're doing bear crawls, they're running, they're lifting stuff, they're doing Olympic weightlifting a little bit. I think everyone needs a little bit more of it, So build your base on the rock, not the sand, right? Just build it as wide as possible, as strong as possible, and then you can hone in, and your pyramid's going to go even higher than you once thought.
100%. I completely agree. It's the same. Yeah. In the sport of fitness, man, it goes all the same. It's just like when you walk into an affiliate that puts a barbell in their client's hands every single day, you're like, hold on now. You're not training them for CrossFit. This is different. You're training them to be an Olympic weightlifting specialist or something. Like they don't need a barbell every day. The purpose of CrossFit is GPP, constantly varied functional movements executed at high intensity. That doesn't make you need a barbell every day, but people are drawn to that. So sometimes they like to make it redundant. So I love exactly what you just said.
I mean, work is work, right? It doesn't matter what it is. Like work is work, and it all goes into the bigger picture. It's all just shovel and dirt. Like some days you come in with a bulldozer, some days you scrape with your bare hands, and some days you get a dessert spoon. But it's all work. You're all just picking dirt up from one and putting it onto another pile.
Yep. For the most part, and your goal is you got to keep making it different, so that on your knees doesn't just keep getting more painful and painful. And when you hand them the shovel, it's not too much shovel, because of course then they got an elbow issue and they want to play with their grandkids. So you got to protect them from that elbow issue. You know what I mean? Like it's continuing to do that work with an understanding of the stimulus and the physiology.
100%. And then I know you're gonna need you pop off pretty soon. You are an extremely busy man. But what about FNX? How did that start?
Yeah, man. So FNX, I've been taking supplements since I was about 15 years old as well. I've been taking creatine or protein into my body from the time I started training in the gym and understanding how important supplements were. And to be honest with you, through the time of my CrossFit pursuit, I had a relationship with a supplement brand here or there in regards to sponsorship. And then there was a time where I wasn't really being supported that way. So I was kind of doing my own thing, and Amazon was getting more popular. So I'd just go order some creatine unmarked and some flavorless whey protein, and put a little beta alanine with the creatine, be making my own pre-workout concoction there. And so with that being said, I've always had a curiosity in the supplement space. I met my partner Skylar Farnes in 2016. He's our CEO, and he had a great business savvy and understanding for a brand that he wanted to start. And I myself was basically a sounding board for him at first, and that was it. I had some ideas on some supplements that I thought could bring value to the fitness space in general, CrossFitters specifically, and then also a lot of connections, ways to market the brand, ways to grow it, ways to use social media, things that I had seen other people not doing that I thought like, hey, this is a no-brainer. It's low cost. I think it's scalable if you do it right. Like, we had some conversations that way. And after those conversations, that's when he actually approached me and was like, hey man, I got to get you in on this. Would you be my partner? I'd love to co-found this company together. And so, long story short, man, we decided to make it happen. We launched it in 2017, and the birth of FNX was right at a perfect time. It was the time that we won the games. We launched our line and website went live in August 2017. So it was the year the Wasatch Brutes won, and it created some great momentum for us in regards to recognition. And we've been moving along ever since, man. Good, steady growth every single year. I'm thinking I really see that it's going to be exponential growth this year here in 2021. We've got some amazing things that are rocking and rolling. But essentially, we're a supplement brand that wants to fuel people with clean products that have ingredients that really suit the lifestyle of most fitness, I guess, fitness aficionados, I guess I would describe them, because our brand, while we started in the CrossFit space, and that's where a lot of my reach came from early, we're so much bigger than CrossFit. We've got a great following in the endurance community. We do wonderfully in like the global gym space where people are predominantly seeking like physique gains and a little bit of like lean body mass gains for weight gain or weight loss, of course. So we've grown tremendously over the years. Our community is awesome. We have a team of ambassadors who represent us here within the United States that crush it for us and are kind of like our sounding board to social media about how our products work and what they do for them. And it's been an amazing ride so far, man. I learn something every single day, but it's been awesome.
That's the goal, right? Keep learning, keep growing. I think it's an absolutely wicked company. I had the pleasure of trying the greens powder, maybe 2018. I think it was a good few years ago, maybe 2019. I think it's the best greens powder I ever had. I had it in the UK. It was just a bit of a bitch at the time to get it over from you lot in the States. But yeah, I think it's absolutely awesome. And what you guys put out looks like more of the health base, which was something that wasn't touched on in the whole supplement industry. It was more like, hey, if you want to get absolutely huge, take this. If you want to, be Matt Fraser, take this. And it's just like, oh, Jesus, that's not how it works. But okay. And it's just like, look, this is going to supplement your lifestyle. This is going to help you stay a little bit healthier than you are at the moment. If you want to do it, go for it. If not, don't worry about it. Have a good time. And I think that's what was missing in the whole supplement line. It was more pushy, rather than, hey, if you want to go down this route and be a little bit healthier, go for it. And that's it was refreshing to see. And I like the product. It tasted absolutely mega.
I love it, brother. And I appreciate you saying it that way, to be honest with you, because that's exactly where we wanted to come in, is add value, but be very real. Supplements are to supplement, your hard work you're putting into the gym and hopefully a diet of whole foods, so that's nothing that we hide behind. Is like, while supplements can really, really, really top off a great regime, we want to support your regime. We want to make sure that you're developing discipline, you got the appropriate mindset and motivation so that you get in the gym consistently. We try to help people develop habits. Dude, we just finished something called Rise 45, which was a 45-day challenge that we had. I got on my Rise shirt right now. And it was essentially, we tracked 5 things. We tracked our nutrition, our sleep, our supplementation, our hydration, and then some mindset development work every single day in our training. So 6 things, I guess. And the goal was every day you amassed points by following those 6 things. And they could be different. Your training could be different than mine, but you still got your points, right? Because you're training for your specific goals. Your nutrition, maybe I was keto, and maybe you were macros, and maybe someone else was the zone diet. And all those things could be individual as well. And so we did this 45-day challenge. If you guys follow me on Instagram, Adrian Conway _, I got my own little transformation photos. And my goal was never really to like get yoked or lose weight or anything like that. It was just to develop these habits. And throughout the course, I lost like 9 pounds, which is great because that'll help me in the open, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I just feel really good. And the goal was, we basically had like almost 350 people sign up. This is the first time we ever did it. And we had no idea it would be as big as it was in regards to the fact that like this Facebook group that we created, man, people are like posting photos and talking about the changes they've made in their lives. And it's like life-changing type stuff. And so that's really, I think we're starting to really, really, really find our ability to connect with our consumers and ambassadors that way. And that's what brings me the most joy. So it's amazing to see that that our brand is much more than just a powder in a bottle, because we've always wanted to be more than that.
That's beautiful, man. Because you and I both know that fitness goes beyond the gym and goes beyond the barbell or the sandbag or whatever the fuck you're doing. And like you just posted there where it's like, hey, these 5 or 6 things, like what one of them was training, everything else was those habits that you're creating to be a better version of yourself, or create better habits to then help your family or your job or your loved ones or whatever. And that's what it's all about, like doing fitness or doing something healthy or active or whatever to then gain something in your life rather than it be a hindrance, like we said about 20 minutes ago, which, yeah, it's really refreshing to be able to see that come from a company at the top rather than just be like, hey, this is going to shred fat off your bloody ass or something. You're like, oh, here we go. Skinny teas.
That's it, man. That's right. Yeah, we don't got enough skinny teas yet, man. Nothing like that.
I mean, 2022, it's coming.
Hey, listen, if we could design one that I trusted and personally believed in, then maybe. I don't like to definitely, knock anything off the potential. Um, if you guys follow me on social media too, I went on a rant about a belt not long ago.
Oh, here we
But it
go.
doesn't mean,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean we'll never sell belts. You know what I'm saying? Right?
Yeah.
Like that might be my personal opinion with hey, if you walk into the gym every day and every day there's squats and you're deadlifting 135 with a belt on, then we need to have a serious conversation about why you got that belt on. That doesn't mean that I won't coach you if you like to wear belts. I just want to have a conversation around it. And so that doesn't mean my company won't come out with our own unique design of a belt, but it's a conversation that we need to be having. So yeah, it's
100%.
it's
Everything starts with a conversation. Everything starts with that education, and then you can have the accountability at the end of it and go, "Oh, okay, cool. X, Y, or Z happened, but I was informed, so I've got to eat that humble pie, rather than just be like, oh no, Adrian didn't tell me." It's like, oh, like you can't be there holding your hand all day every day.
Yeah, exactly.
Mate, that's so true, and I love it that you're showing that from the top rather than it's just someone in the gym being like, "Hey, this is what I think," and it's like, "Oh no, but Adrian on Instagram said something different." You're like, Jesus. I was like, no, it's we really appreciate you saying it from the top as well. So thank you very much for that.
I love it, man. I love it. Yeah, and I'll tell everybody all the same. It's like, listen, nothing. I don't live in a world of absolutes, right? Meaning that like I look, I'm a pretty spiritual guy, and the Bible speaks a lot in absolutes. I'll let that be to the Bible because I can't. I'm not Jesus and I'm not a creator of anyone, so I don't do that. But I will say things that I'm confident in and believe in personally. But then, hey, in 3 years from now, if I come back to everybody and I'm like, you know what, guys, I learned my lesson. You should wear a belt in every single workout all the time. We should be wearing belts. I'm not too prideful or humble to admit that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? So when you coaches or whatever, understand that their information that they're presented to is also always changing because I want to be a learner and I want to communicate what I really believe is right and correct and not just like what I feel, or what I personally believe in. I want to actually have some data or information behind it. So hopefully you guys are being able to decipher that kind of information that social media sometimes just runs crazy with all the time.
Yeah, 100%. And you don't know what you don't know, right? And you can be as informed as you want, but sometimes there's things that you just haven't learned yet, and you have to go back and say, actually, guys, like, this thing I've been teaching you the same way for 5 years. Like, oh, on the weekend I saw a piece of information that, and now I can teach you a better way, or we're going to try this. And I think people respect that, mate. Like continued development as a person, as a coach, as a leader, all these different things. Like it's the way forward, mate. Like eating that humble pie every day and continue developing yourself.
That's it, brother. I completely agree. Appreciate that perspective.
Thank you very much for your time, brother. I know you got absolutely crap ton of things to do, so I'm not going to take up any more of it. I really appreciate your time. And if people wanted to find you, where would you send them?
Yeah, I'd send them to IGs. I'm easy to get a hold of there. I engage people all the time. Adrian Conway _ is my username. You can try to friend me on Facebook. I don't do much on like an athlete page or anything like that right now. I need to step that up a little bit. but you can try to friend me there. I don't think I'm full of friends yet. So Adrian Conway on Facebook is good too. And then fnxfit.com is where you can find all of our products, and browse them and scour the site and see what we're all about.
Yeah, I would definitely get on that greens powder. That's next level. I love the greens powder, mate. I love it from any company, but it's the one that I was able to drink and not gag.
I love it, and I appreciate that, dude. We've heard that a lot. Ours tastes amazing. I mean, clearly I'm biased, so I'm glad you're here to support my opinion there with that. And everybody needs the green, so it goes well with any and every fitness goal that you could ever think of. Even grandma and great grandma and great grandpa need it. So.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. People know, like, if it was shit, I would have told you. So it's not. It's absolutely spot on, mate.
I love that.
All right, spot on. Have a banging day, mate, and I thank you very much again.
You too, brother. I appreciate it.
Thank you, mate. Peace.